care.
Nigel today?
He's here, but he's just doing his own thing right now. I mean, I think he's meditating or something. I'm not really sure. I don't know what he's up to. Really, he's in his room. I told him. I said, yeah, man, I'm gonna have another conversation with Jason, but yeah, he's just chilling up there. He's chilling. But no. Thank you for coming back onto the show.
Oh, fine.
This time we're live, so there's just not going to be any issue of recording or any issue of any of that. So welcome back to the Rambling Rogue Show. I'm your host, Rambling Rogue, aka Gyres Rogue, all that good stuff. And today I've got a special guest, a guest who, we've actually already done this interview once, so I want to trot on fresh ground. But this is a person who I would describe as a big brother, influence, a role model, somebody who pretty much set up the groundwork and blueprint for what I thought was cool and for what I thought was even just respectable or right as, carrying yourself as a young black man. So, yeah, without further ado, my cousin Jason is here, Jason Nicol. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for joining and blessing the show. I don't have my soundboard. Like I said the last time that we did this, which was like a minute ago, but it's fine. I'm gonna get
I
that. I'm gonna
appreciate
get that.
appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the kind words.
No, but they're true. They're very true. I mean, when I say set up the blueprint for what I think is cool, it's like literally, you don't know when you're young, but well, maybe you kind of know it. Your entire experience is pretty much through that of everybody that's around you, especially the people that you spend the most time with. Your whole culture, whatever it is that it comes from that. So we spent many a day, summer, winter, spring, fall, many a nights, sleepovers, etc. Many just adult conversations, many just over the years it's been so much. So I mean, literally, you were in contact with my brother and I, Nigel, my usual co-host here, but you were in contact with us since minute one. So
Yeah.
I guess we'll just start at the beginning. Do you remember anything about being at my birth?
Oh, you talking about the picture? Oh yeah, I have no clue. I don't remember that at all.
you don't you don't remember any of it? Like
No,
not
I was like, I remember
five.
like vaguely the day, and it's like, I just remember, it being later in the day, and then we were at a hospital, and it's like, like in the there's always those in certain TV shows they have those little like cut moments where like you vaguely remember something, and it's like, and then it's like another piece. That's basically the recollection of what I have. I don't remember the picture. Because I think about it, I was probably like I 4 when that picture was taken. Memory doesn't really start to develop until a little bit later anyway. So it makes sense why I don't remember it. But I do remember bits and pieces vaguely.
Damn. I mean, it's really just crazy though. I mean, because even though you don't remember that picture, and I'll have it as the thumbnail of this video, it's kind of indicative of our whole relationship pretty
Yeah.
much. I mean, are right next to, you know I think it's your mom and your sister holding us,
Yep.
and then it's just, we're all, as a family, we were raised by this village, and so
Yeah.
pretty much that's what it's kind of indicative of. And it didn't really stop with us, because pretty much of all the like like people, like whether it be like my nephew now, and your nephew too, Jalen, and to where pretty much, I mean, anytime I've seen you with any kid, it's just that same kind of sort of thing where you kind of fell into a I wouldn't say leader role, but definitely a role model role. Were you ever cognizant of that coming up? Like, were you just aware of the fact that you had to, not had to be, but um, yeah, you were almost always the responsible. We can look to him as the, like, well put together person that's young.
Uh, um, I'd say initially no, and then as I grew older, I became aware. You start to become more aware of your surroundings and the how you're viewed, right? Because me growing up, I always looked up to my bigger brother. Obviously, you say you know. So I always looked up to him. So he was like the guy I thought was like the super cool guy, and like I always wanted to be like. So kind of being around him growing up, and him really kind of helping me kind of come into my own, just kind of hanging around him and just seeing how he like even just by example would show me certain things about how to move in these sorts of environments and these types of environments. It kind of made me very conscious of, okay, when I got a certain age, that I then became that person that I looked up to. So I was like, you know so essentially, to answer the question, initially no, but then as I grew older and started to become more conscious, I started to realize it. So then I just, like, I guess, naturally started to assume the role.
Of sort of uncle, literally though. I mean, because it dawned on me, man. Because like I'll say this, like because it's your sister who has my nephew Jalen, right?
Hmm.
But it dawned on me, it dawned on me that I was his uncle as well. I never considered myself his uncle until he's on Instagram, and that's the other thing. When you start seeing people that's like not your, let's say, I don't want to say generation, but yeah,
They're
mini
younger.
generation, something like that. It's like because we're still Zennials. We're me and him are Z, and then maybe you would be Z too. We're all Z, but
I'm
it's
millennial
you're a
technically.
millennial, but yeah, but even still, we're all generally close in age. But
Yeah,
when you start seeing like people that are younger than you on Instagram, like, all right, now I'm like, all right, okay, number one, but number two, he called me his uncle, and I was just like, that is what I am to you. Like, that is that. But I never thought of it. Always coming up, it was kind of just first name basis to where I remember when he was very small, Jalen, and he's 18 now, and he's doing his own thing, you know,
Hmm.
trying to get into the armed forces, but he would call you uncle, and so it just,
Hmm.
I guess that was just very
To this day.
early. You said what?
I said to this day.
To this even, you see, yeah, that's crazy to me, man. I mean, he formally called me that, but like I never, it never clicked to me, and I think you know not everybody is built to sort of be the role model or sort of the person that everybody kind of looks to like that, and that's when it kind of dawned on me that maybe I am not that person, and that's okay. That's okay. I'm still trying to figure out my own path. Really, very much childlike, honestly. And so, and just realizing that was just a big moment for me. That this actually just happened recently, but yeah, that's why I just think it's notable in you that those quality, those features, it's something that I always admired. So to kind of go back to the source of that though, how much do you think that your upbringing, as far as being the son of a bishop and then being inside of the church environment with that, how much would you say that the African, like because we come from Sierra, our parents come from Sierra Leone, West Africa,
Hmm.
and so how much of that upbringing would you say influenced your role model, sort of, or it's just sort of the responsibility first, head first sort of mentality that you have?
Um, I I think it more attributed to the age gap between me and my siblings. So, like, if basically my sister, which you're referring to earlier, which is the middle child, she's 10 years older than me, right? And my brother's, I think, like 14 or 15 years older. So I never went to school with any of my siblings, right? I always basically, even though I had siblings, essentially grew up just as the youngest child, separate from them. So I think that, kind of looking back, I get a lot of, yeah, you're very mature for your age, you're very, you don't move the way you how your age is, you don't act your age, you act older. And I think that huge, now I used to not really understand why people would say that, but I think actually it's attributed, but just by being around my siblings when they were older. Like, when I
Right.
was like 8, my sister was 18, right?
Hmm.
So just
Yeah.
kind of being around them and hanging around them. So I got to, like, go to like the movies with my sister when she was like barely getting out of high school and barely getting her license and doing things. I got to like hang around my brother when he was barely kind of getting into the scene and stuff. So I
Yeah.
essentially like I almost like lived the life before I even got there, right? So
Yeah.
I kind of seen the grow up and just kind of, so I guess it just kind of formulated me to, kind of have a certain mindset of just like, you know,
You kind of know
this
what's
is
already out here.
this is the important stuff. This is the stuff that you will end up needing to focus on. So my mind would just kind of be like, okay, this is the important stuff. Is having this sort of, you know, I I can't think of any word.
I have two questions from that. So would you say you effectively grew up an only child then? Effectively?
Um,
Cause yeah, you
no,
had the siblings, and yeah, no, yeah, your sister was right there next to you. Yeah, no, 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 not really. No, no. I just remember the memory from your sister living right next to you. Oh God, you might even know what I'm talking about. But anyway, whatever. Man, crazy times growing up. But so no, you didn't effectively grow up as an only child. You didn't feel like that.
no, because my sister was in the house for majority of my life, at least as like adolescence. And then even when she moved out,
Yeah.
well, first off, she moved to Vegas initially, and then when she came back, and she was staying like in different areas, like certain parts of San Bernardino and stuff like that. I would always go with her, so that's why I seen a lot of things where I would like actually like stay the weekend with her and gelling like growing up and just like different parts of the areas where she lived all over and just kind of experience that. Like, so she lived in like certain parts of like not maybe some not the best areas, right?
Word.
Certain parts of San Bernardino, and I'd be there with her, right? And gelling and stuff like that. So I kind of got to see all these different
Characters,
living, yeah, different situations, different living
situations,
experiences.
that too.
Yeah, so I got to see it all. I got to see it, and so it's like I feel like it kind of matured my perspective on like I like instead of it, it's like without me having to waste my teenage years or like 18, 19, 20 years doing it myself and learning on my own. I seen it as a youngin, so I was like, I already know what that's about. I already know what goes on over there. I already know what goes on over there. So I don't necessarily have to per se personally live it, right? They say, what's the saying? They say wise men learn. Like I said, what they
Smart
say,
men,
smart man learns from the mistake, a wise man learns from the
mistakes
mistakes
of
of
others.
others.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the one thing, and not to say that was a mistake or anything like that on her side, but just kind of really seeing that perspective and just being like, okay,
But what
I
you
know what
could
this is
say,
about.
is that your sister didn't have an older sister to have looked at her age of 18. So not mistakes, but you could say she was doing that. She was living smart. She was living on her own experiences effectively, and so the benefit of being younger, and many people maybe don't look at it this way. Maybe they have some sort of chip on their shoulder for being the youngest, but that's a big key right there. You're basically saying that you had a sort of backseat to real life, and that gave you just this kind of this just thicker skin, this grown mentality. And I think, well, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. So you would attribute, yeah. I mean, and when I think back too, I mean, because your brother, DJ. I mean, this is and again, when we're talking about epitome of cool, like, yeah, no, and there, see, that's what's funny about it, because he was older in the sense of he was probably too cool and too adult for me to gravitate towards. But like for you, it was kind of a distillation. Like I think when you turned about teenage years, I mean, you were literally the cousin that put me on the Odd Future. You put us on the Facebook. You put us on the memes and this and that. You put us on all this stuff. So it's just and to this day, Odd Future, despite whatever I feel about Tyler or whatever, I mean that's roots. I mean that's just California roots. That's just right. At least in my in my history, you know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
damn. Okay. Okay. So that's grand. That's grand. That's grand. That's where you've got your mentality,
Yeah.
and
And
yeah,
to kind of say, kind of attest to that is like, yeah, he was like deep into the DJ scene, so it was like
yeah,
it was a different experience. So
yeah,
it'd be like I would literally go into parties, and I would just be like the youngest person there all the time, And I just remember being like, "Oh, like who you with?" And I'd be like, "Oh, like you said that's my brother." And people literally like be like, "That's your brother?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, like that's my big brother." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And it's like a certain like, wow, like okay, like he's really, really well loved in this, in in this
Industry.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah,
community.
and
But that too, I mean, seeing that, like, there's just so many things to learn from that sort of lifestyle with girls, with fashion, with style, with just how to carry yourself, with just there's just so much keys with that, man. I never really thought about your. Well, that's why I had to ask the question. So okay, so pivoting on, kind of getting to, like, I just want to quickly just go over your educational history because we did go over this, but pretty much, yeah, you went through the public school educational system inside of America, but then you went to college and you actually first went in for a graphic design degree. I'm gonna surmise it for you, and then you pivoted out of, I think you said, what was it, like, because of necessity they actually had switched a role inside of your major or something like that, and you had gotten yourself into digital, or excuse me, what was it, market,
marketing,
pardon,
marketing.
digital marketing.
No, just marketing. Period.
Marketing. So,
Hmm.
okay, so you're a marketer. That's
Yeah.
that, and you found yourself in that position after going into school for graphic design. Um, kind of, what do you think about? I kind of want to have the topic of the conversation just be just manhood, just growth, just
Mm.
and things like that. So, what do you think about the position you find yourself in today as a marketer, and what do you think about where you found yourself maybe 5 6 years ago? Because I remember, I mean, I'm kind of going through it now at 22, going through these kind of feelings of, okay, I kind of vaguely know what I want to do and I'm in school for it as well, but
Mhm.
it's difficult, it's hard. What do you think about, yeah, where you are today versus where you were maybe 5 6 years ago, living in California versus being a statesman? There you go. This guy's out here. You
uh,
be in multiple states. Yeah. What do you?
yeah, no, great question. So as far as you know, 5 6 years ago to now, about 5 years ago, I was pretty much getting to the end of my college career. I call it a career because it is like a portion of your life, right?
Yeah.
My college career, I was getting to the end of it, getting towards my bachelor's, kind of getting
Mm,
into it. I feel like, with anything, honestly, I feel like the career shift with the marketing aspect was almost like manifested destiny in my mind, right? Um, because I feel like if it wouldn't have been for the have to aspect of it, I would have just stayed in the same plane, graphic design, moved it over to, because the only reason I changed it is because, so just to break it down from the previous
people
episode.
listening.
So basically, I started off in San Bernardino Valley College, which is a community college in San Bernardino, California. Right, started off there. Got all my what they call prereqs or prerequisite classes, English, math, all those things like that, without having to pay a large amount. Coming straight out of college, I'm coming straight out of high school. So I did that. I was in design, pretty much graduated with that. Transferred over to the
Cal
the
State.
sister school, Cal State San Bernardino, which is a university. And I transferred over there, and I was able to basically, essentially, um, get obviously accepted into that, et cetera, et cetera. So into that one, they didn't have a direct graphic design class, or not
Degree.
class,
Course.
degree, correct, course. So the only thing they had closest to it was and marketing, right? So the only reason I even went down
It
that
cut off. You
path
said
is
design and
because
marketing.
that was pretty much, yeah, design and marketing. So the only reason I went towards that, even towards that path, is because that was the only option I had, right? But it ended up being almost like
Blessing in
uh,
disguise.
blessing in disguise, because then it ended up, forcing me to take certain marketing classes, starting to understand about demographics, and certain advertisements are towards certain people, certain ethnicities, certain age groups, certain genders. So like everything has a reasoning behind it, at
Mm-hmm.
least in theory, and really just kind of opening my mind up to it. So when I actually had the opportunity to kind of transition into the career path, I was very much open to other aspects versus if I would have probably stayed in the curriculum of design, I would have been probably laser focused into that aspect. Now, what I would say is my feelings from the beginning of college to to the
No,
end sorry to the end of college
to
to
no.
into the career where I'm at now is, you go through this, like, I feel like I don't know about everybody, but a lot of college students go through this kind of like weird stage where you're kind of out of college and you're looking for work. And
Mm-hmm.
you start applying everywhere, and the problem that arises is like there's this weird thing where it's like every job you apply to doesn't want to hire you because you don't have experience. But the only way you're going to get experience
It's
is
by
if
getting
somebody
hired.
hires you. So it's like this weird like dance you have to do, and to be honest, like, it gets frustrating and tiring, you know. So, eventually it's like, okay, you kind of do this dance and you kind of almost honestly get a little bit discouraged after a little while, because it's like you apply to
Mm.
so many places and you don't really get that many callbacks. Like in your mind, how college kind of gives you this, you got to think
Degree,
about it.
job.
Yeah, no, but you think about it. I think about it now. It's literally sales. Like they're literally advertising to me. You come here, you get this degree, you will get, and it's like now I'm really breaking it down. Like, of course they would do that. Of course, I pay tuition. I come in,
Mm-hmm.
you get this guaranteed job. You're gonna be making so much money. Your life's gonna be happier. Everybody's gonna look up to you. You have a degree, and it's like it's literally sales. And I'm like,
Mm.
wow, like I really got sold on it. But not to say college is bad. I'm not trying to down college, but I'm just saying that perspective it enlightened me.
You know the game now.
I know the game, so
Yeah.
it's like, so when I came in and it didn't happen that way, which reality of most life, right? It doesn't naturally take off. It was kind of a reality check, right? To be honest,
Mm.
it was like damn, like, you start to learn about the politics of certain things, like, certain schools are more attractive to a resume than other schools, and your school is considered a commuter school versus a school that people all across the country go to, and there's so many different levels, and it's not just university. There's Cal States, then there's universities, then there's top tier schools, then there's like there's like all this politics that go into it, and it's like it's not just as simple as degree, job. It's not that
Yeah.
simple,
You're right.
right? And you really start to realize that, and it's like, okay, so eventually I got a call back. Got to do, obviously did a couple of interviews, but got to do an interview, um, and yeah, got hired into pretty much a sales position, sales and marketing position.
And okay, so now you're here. What kind of comment would you have again about just I guess your feelings on it? You've learned the game now. You've come around the other side of the college and no experience sort of conundrum. But well, first of all, how did you beat that uh, problem? Because, like you say, nobody wants to hire you without experience, and you have to go get experience to even get hired. So it's like,
it's
yeah,
like it's like with anything, right? It's like how Discover is to us in the credit world, right? You keep getting denied for credit cards because nobody sees that you have any history of building credit. So the only way you can build credit is you get approved for a credit card. It's like one of them just gave you a shot. Discover just gave me a shot, and that's why, in my financial world now that I'm like more matured and I have multiple credit cards and I have a higher score than probably most adults even have,
mm-hmm,
and it's only going up. you know, I always have a certain place, even though I have maybe more advanced cards than my Discover card. I always have a special place in my heart for the Discover card because they're the ones that gave me the shot.
That shot. Yeah.
They're the ones that gave me the shot. When Chase was saying no, when MasterCard was saying no, I didn't go to Amex, but I'm pretty sure they would have told me no too. And it's like, you know, that's the one that gave me the shot. You know, as a college kid, 19, 20, you know, no credit, no nothing. They gave me the shot. And that's what helped me build to where I'm at now.
How much was that first gig that you got into the sales world? How much did you soak up from that, and how much did that transition and pivot you? Because it was from the last episode that we had, but I do remember you said that you started that job essentially at sales, at essentially the bottom of what is the bottom there, and then you just grew yourself from sales representative to coach, or really to like more trusted sales representative or top representative to coach to team leader. It's like, what did you take from getting in on that bottom floor? Just was it gratitude when you got that call back, or was it like, okay, well, not even just gratitude, just I got to get to work?
Right, right. So the callback. Oh, so the callback, you mean like actually getting hired? Is what you're
Yes.
saying, not the. Okay, cool. So the callback was just optimism, just kind of excitement, right? It's like, yeah, there is a fear of the unknown, but there's also an excitement of the unknown too, right? Depending on how you look at it. So it's like, okay, finally, somebody's gonna give me a shot, and it's like that hungry underdog. That's kind of always how I've always been. Like my mentality is like, finally, somebody's gonna give me a shot. I'm gonna make it work, right? Because even like one thing about it is when I come to work, I'm gonna work, right? So like even like my first job, like Little Caesars and Big Lots, I was beloved there because I
Yeah.
worked my ass off, right? Because I was like, if you hire me and you actually give me a shot, I'm going to like work my ass off. I'm not a lazy person. One thing I picked up from my pops, and shout out to my pops, is that man
Shout
works
out to Elder, man.
hard. That man worked hard, man. Like like see him every day. 5 o'clock in the morning, waking up, getting his coffee, getting his tea, going to work Monday through Friday, consistently as a kid, just consistently, crack of dawn, sun not even out, like just waking up. Like no matter what time he goes to sleep, he's gonna wake up at that 5 o'clock, get in the car, and go to work. Like that's one thing I seen. Like you work hard, Like
Yeah.
if you want all this, you want the house, you want the cars, you want the family eventually. You gotta work for it. That's one thing my dad taught me is frugalness and to work hard. Value of a dollar. That's one thing. The reason why my pops is super super finicky on what he decides to buy, but I understand it because he works so hard for what he got. Right? He works so hard, so I understand why he's not so frivolous with money, and that in turn actually wore off on me because I'm very much like like okay, I'm not just going and just spending money everywhere, right? So that's one thing I picked up from him. But I forgot the original point we were making.
No, no, you're good. Do you think, just to kind of just keep going from there, it's like the frugality and the because that's a sacrifice, like when you're frugal, you are sacrificing. When you have a frugal mindset, maybe you won't go out and do the money or a few exciting things that would be exciting for the moment, but only for the moment and not for any future or long term. What do you think what effect do you think that the frugal mindset has had on kind of your social life, and then also maybe like like your social life? Because that's kind of been my thing. Like, how do I say this? How do I say this? How do I say this? Jason, you're like a person who I would consider. This is gonna be weird to say, but I would consider you a normie. In I don't know if you've ever heard of this term, but you're a person who you're on a trajectory. You're not constantly worried, and or you're not constantly thinking about the existential crisis of life. You're not always just like, darn. You're not down about it. You're not downtrodden. How do you get calibrated to be this person that works hard, and I know you to be a person that also has his relationships in order. But I just want you to kind of explain, like how do you do that? Because many people our age, many people that are young, I mean, that's why we smoke weed, that's why we drink, that's why we, you know, probably fuck the people that we probably shouldn't fuck. It's really youth. It's being young. I mean, it's for many, but it doesn't have to be. It's like you found it, to my perspective, and maybe this could be wrong, but you found a way to maybe balance adult with, yeah, I'm gonna just have some times for me and pleasure and life, and yeah, maybe I won't show off everything that I have, but yeah, one or two things. You know, I see on your Instagram, you got the car, you know what I'm saying? You got your car with the jacket, you know what I'm saying? You do your thing, you with the chain, you know what I'm saying? Yo, on the 7 a.m. in Bridle Path, I don't know where you was at. You was somewhere. It was crazy. But it's like, I'm
Champagne
looking at it
poetry.
like, you say what?
Champagne
There
poetry.
you go. Hey, that's what it looked like with the champagne colored whatchamacallit. I don't even know what that was. Frock? Jacket? I don't know, but you and then you come out with a smile in that video too, and it's like, yeah, you've balanced the adulting with the living.
Yeah,
So
I just learned that you know, it's just things that you water will grow, and by that I mean it's delayed gratification, right? So one thing I feel like a lot of us, we struggle with is we are used to instantaneous things. We need high speed internet at the house. We need unlimited everything. We need everything to load in a second. We hate buffering, right? Like these are just like aspects. Like if our game buffers, we're punching a wall, right? That's just like
mhm.
our age group because we grew up almost in the technology age, right? So we're used to things being instantaneous, right? So one thing about it is I understood is Rome, like literally the same. Rome wasn't built in a day. Applies to life,
Yeah,
right? So it's literally understanding that with Instagram, what tends to happen is people see the end product of the hard work and they think that they can just turn on a camera, turn something on, and get that instantaneous. Which is why you know if like I'm big into the financial world. I like to watch a lot of financial based YouTube videos and things like that. Like, but the people who tend to be the most watched are the people who are kind of almost not scamming, but kind of selling, not really being the most transparent, and
yeah,
they're kind of doing like the get rich quick, make $100,000, without a degree, and all these things like that. Very like quick words because it's like people in our backgrounds they don't want to work for it. They want it quick. They want it fast. So it's like, and the thing about it is success, whatever your definition of it, because I have an argument about success as well. Like success, you should never define your life off of something that you can't, that everybody defines it in a different way, right? So be conscious of that, right? So, because success is this objective word, right? Where it's just like success, like what is success? You ask 10 people, they'll give you 10 different answers on what success is, right? There is no textbook definition, or it's like, yes, that's what it means,
it
right?
is subjective.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so it's like understanding that, and like a lot of people that live their whole life, I need to be successful. I need to be successful. What is that? That it's different for different people, right? So really, just understanding what is success, not period, but to you.
me. Mm,
What is success to you, right? Because then that's what's gonna end up making you happy. Because some people don't need, because success is not, even though it's synonymous, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a lot of money.
right.
Maybe you need to make enough where you can put a little bit in the savings account. You don't got to worry about bills. Maybe that's successful to you, and that's perfectly fine, right? It's just kind of understanding that, right? To me, I feel like a million
Yeah.
dollars, $1 million, millionaire. That word and it's romanticized, right? Oh, I need to make $1 million. I need to be a millionaire, millionaire, millionaire. I don't really care. Like, if I end up being that, hey, that's great. But I'm not like in love with that number. like, oh yeah, I need to have 1 million. Like it's like, hey, if I'm fairly wealthy and it never hits $1 million, but I get to, live a fun lifestyle where I can support it and obviously save money and build wealth and, hopefully guide people and kind of help them acquire wealth, I'll be happy with that. I feel like that would be successful to me, right? Now,
Right.
obviously, my mentally, I'm gonna try to reach goals to obviously keep going up, but I'm not romanticized with millionaire, billionaire. I need to have this much. I
How
need to have that.
how do you reconcile the FOMO, the fear of missing out?
On what?
Well, maybe there's something on social media that, involves artists that you like. You can go out to go see them. There's this event here. There's this event there. I mean, you're in the middle of the country now. It would simply just be a plane ride that you've now kind of become more accustomed to, right? Because of your job, you're taking more plane rides. You could just be
Mm-hmm.
going to events. You can plus you're
Well,
I mean you were telling me in the last podcast you through your job you've had the opportunity of going to different cities, going to
yeah,
Atlanta, and not this was off the
St.
podcast,
Louis.
but nigga, if you went to Atlanta once, to me after that kind of experience, anytime that comes up, I'm gonna try to get. If I was you,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna be out there, and I'm gonna see. I'm irresponsible. I'm really not the person that anybody should be listening to, even though it's my show. So fuck it. But the point is the fear of missing out on. I'm sure these opportunities come up inside of your line of work and adjacent to the line of work. How do you reconcile that? How do you get around that?
So one thing about it that I've understood is, I, for one, I derive pleasure. I feel like I derive happiness and like this excitement off of different things. So I derive like excitement off of saving money, acquiring
Right.
assets, things like that. Looking in my account and seeing a number grow. Right, that excites me. Right, that might be boring to some people, especially in my age group. Oh, that's boring. Why would I do that? But to me, that's exciting. To me, like seeing my credit score go up, like adult things, like those. I know it sounds like an old man, but like these things excite me. Like, you know, but I don't sound like I'm in my 20s, but it's okay. I don't care. Like these things excite me, right? The car is cool. Like the car is okay. Like don't get me wrong. Like
That's what I brought up. That's what I brought
I've
up.
acquired, I've acquired a taste having more nicer cars and certain or nicer things in certain aspects, right? But it's like, you kind of live and it's like, yeah, I pay the car payment every month. It's kind of like it once you get inside, your vision, it's just a regular car, right?
Right.
It's a steering wheel, it's some brakes, it's a gas pedal, it's a regular transmission, right? And it's like, yeah, you look cool from the outside, from people looking at you,
Not from your
when you step
perspective.
out. Yeah, but when you're inside, it's a fucking car.
Car.
It's a fucking car. It has seats like everybody else. Yeah, it might have a couple extra features and may go a little bit faster than the other one. But that doesn't excite me. Like, and I'm glad I'm getting it out of my system now because I feel like
Hmm.
when I acquire large amounts, I won't have that feeling of needing to do that.
Well, you look at Warren Buffett, and and it's not just him, but he's in the same house that he's been in since forever. I think, and they also say he drives a CRV or some very regular car.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, they say now. I mean, I don't know how true this is, but Elon Musk has gone to a completely minimalist life. He's given away much of his possessions. These are some of the richest people we know about, and somehow there's this through line of frugality that's there, and it's maybe not in all of the rich tycoons, but it's in enough of them where it's notable. And I think on the ground floor, it produces a mindset where you're able to be an adult, and you're able to have fun, and you're able to save, and you're able to just able because that's been kind of this interesting thing that I've been thinking about. Like I heard it was Jordan Peterson talking about it. He was talking about
Oh,
Americans being. He said that he had grown to have more sympathy for Americans being, let's just say, obese en masse because I mean, look at what we're marketed. Look at what's in front of us all the time. Look at what's I mean, if you drive outside of your house, five things you pass, they're all colorful, they're all labeled this, and they're all trying to get your money for some terrible dog shit food, and it's like, oh, so he was talking about how he just sort of had a little bit more sympathy for people here that maybe can't get their shit together in terms of their diet, in terms of maybe, and then other choices that spring from that. I mean, it's from the gut, I think, being in a good place that the mind can even have any sort of proper track or proper train of thought. I really do think so.
No,
When you're hungry, you're only focused on food. When you're totally full and how would you say, just a glutton, then you just focus on maybe overdoing it and on types and being a foodie, which is a real thing. But I think
yeah, yeah.
other people just, what are you doing? Why are you getting,
It
man?
goes into it goes back into marketing, right?
It does, but before you get it, it's just, as a DoorDash driver, seeing so many people go into so many types of apartments that, like, yeah, I'm judging. I don't give a damn. I'm judging you. Look, I should not be going to your apartment, and then outside of it, it's just like, it's just, come on, dog. Like, first of all, an apartment, you should not be getting no DoorDash. You living in an apartment, you have to be saving that money. You live right next to the place that you literally just delivered to. It won't even be like a nice restaurant, like a Red Lobster, just like a something, far off meal for, because I get that. But it'll be McDonald's, it'll be Baker's, it'll be this, it'll be that, it'll be right 2 minutes away from you. You couldn't have just, what? So, well, maybe you couldn't. There's a lot of people with small children out there that are in these apartments, and these small children are by themselves, and that's a reality that I've seen personally myself. I'm kind of rambling at this point, but it does go back to marketing. People are programmed to do many things in this country, and one of the more clear and overt things that we're programmed to do is eat shitty food, and I think another one of those things is to, and I think this is deeper, and I think this is not as obvious, but it's to live shittier lives. It's to not save. I mean, somehow that, I mean, again, many people in their 20s don't sound like you. They, I, I cringe. I cringe. And I'm rambling, but I really, 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 really do cringe hard when I hear, it'll be on the internet, and maybe in some random space, this could be like on a when I hear, like, men, young black males my age typically speak, it's like, it's just this 50-50 coin toss on proper English and a well level head to just like no sense, and it doesn't just have to do with the grammar part, but it's just in the mentality, in the, like, we're not looking, and no, I'm not looking at other races of people and judging them, and nah, I'm judging the people that look like me. I want a higher standard, and it's just, I don't know how I got here, but I'm kind of here just kind of just thinking about what we're talking about, and it does go back to the marketing, and so yeah, I guess it just, who's to blame? Who's to blame for all of this? Who's to blame for so many people? I mean, like, I remember when you were over here, and I'll pass this off to you, but I remember when you were over here, one of the things you complained about a lot was when you talk to your friends about, job opportunities and things, the only thing they can talk about is, oh, I make $1 more or $2 more than I did when I was working over there down the street, as opposed to over here, and I'm still spending all my money, like, and not having any aspirations with what to do with my money, but I'm making $2 more an hour, and that is like this highlight. It's this big thing. It's just, you're the marketer, you're the marketing man. Where the hell is this coming from? Where does the mentality to be to waste our youth come from, do you think?
I feel like it's an economy, right? So marketing. Think about what marketing does. It gets you to spend your spending dollars on something, right? So there's an economy behind all of this, right? So even you unlock something like foodie, right? That's literally that's rebranding, right? That's just branding. So it's like, okay, branding, going to spend all this money on these restaurants, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what the foodie is. Go to your local places and spend all this money and eat here, eat here, eat here, eat out more. Basically, that's what the brand is, right? So just understanding
Hmm.
that, and with anything like there's nightlife is probably $1 billion industry. Liquor, going out, gas, liquor stores, down to the freaking Dixie
Condoms,
cups. No, I
Dixie.
was gonna say Dixie cups, yeah,
But
but yeah, condoms too,
I
yeah,
was just in the
or
club
not,
sipping
or
some
or
rum.
or
Yeah,
or not, and the industry of young,
child.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole another industry, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so both of those, right? So liquor, all that those are all $1 million industries. So what's advertised to us through a lot of things, through movies, through music, is young, live your life, have fun, YOLO, we're only here once, all this stuff, right? Don't think about tomorrow. Jay Z's "Forever Young," all
Hmm.
this, man. Like it romanticizes youth as this is like your best time. This is like if you're a star, this is the hottest moment of your life, and don't waste it and live it up and go
It's
here,
so
go there,
manic.
go that.
Yeah.
But then it's like what tends to happen is your flame starts to kind of dry down as you get older, and you realize like your rest of your life has to be planned out, right? And it's like the best way to plan it out is to plan for it earlier. Not necessarily only live in your future. You still want to be able to live in your past and enjoy it, but with moderation.
Right.
Everything's with moderation, right? So I'm not the because I know Gary Vee has Gary Vee. I watch Gary Vee a lot too. Gary Vee has this thing where he says eat shit. Like he says, eat shit for 10 years and don't do nothing. Like I don't know if that is the 100% way to go, right? Like he said, I never went anywhere. I just worked and worked and worked and worked and just got to where I'm at. And I respect his path, but I feel like there's a gray area of that, right? Like I feel like moderation is key, because I don't feel like that will produce the best person either. Just working yourself to death,
But do you
right?
think do you think that when you tell people about moderation, they just take it as a golden ticket to do all the stuff that they were supposed to be moderate
Right?
about? You know
Cheat
what I'm
day,
saying? They're like, "Oh
cheat day
shit, wait,
mentality,
moderation? Oh, bet. I'm gonna just do it to the very limit and then
cheat day,
you
cheat
say
day mentality, cheat
exactly."
day mentality.
And
Exactly,
so
right? Oh,
it could be something to be said about if I tell them go 100% for the 10 years through your 20s,
I see
then
what you're
then
saying.
you'll do maybe 80% of that,
Hey,
and then
mm,
at least
that's deep. That's deep. You might be onto something. You might be
mm,
onto something, right? Set it so high that even if they fail, they're still way above where they were before. That there's a psychology to that. Yeah, no, that's deep. I never thought about it on Gary Vee's side. I
hmm,
just think about it from my perspective. I like to make realistic things, right? So I don't like to set goals initially that I feel like I can't maintain long term, right? So I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go to the gym 7 days a week
yeah,
every day.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
gonna.
yeah,
I'm like I could probably do it for like a week or two. Maybe I could even probably
yeah.
push myself to do it for a month.
And then
But I'm
after
not gonna
that,
do it long term. It's just I'm not. I'm
and
not.
and with a lot of people, thoughts like that. Oh, I always when people come like and they tell you about yeah I want to go start going to the gym like let's say go to the gym 7 days a week. It's like no, just do it as much as comfortable as much as you know that is and does also is like if you look at your time what is just most time appropriate and just go from there because being there at all is already a win and when you set up excuse me, but when you set these rigid and sort of very difficult standards for yourself, they often just rubber band right back to you, and then this anxiety grows for the activity because oh maybe you couldn't make it to the 7 days a week, so now you'll do no days a week of
Yep.
gym
You
because
get burnt out.
you're
You get
either
burnt
burnt
out
out, but not even the body. Maybe a week will pass, but then you'll be like,
mentally
oh
burnt
no,
out.
I won't be able to do the full commitment that I'm talking about. So then you'll just do zero, and it's like, no. Just do what's comfortable. Do what you can. Just do what you can. Do what you can, and really ask yourself what's my limit, and I think that's another thing that we don't really
And
much
then why are
do.
you going?
Why am I even just set a goal?
Why are you going? Like understand one thing I learned is mentality is understanding your why. Why do you do what you do? Right? Why? Like don't just do it because somebody said, "Hey, you should do it," because then you won't have an underlying passion behind it. Understanding
Hmm.
why do you do it, right? The reason why I want to acquire a certain amount of wealth and acquire assets is because I want the freedom of time, right? So that's my why. My why is the freedom of time and really understanding like, hey, if I did want to go to some concert and blah 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 blah, I could buy it and not even look at the price. That's where I want to be one day. I want to have all my bills on auto bill pay, where it's like, oh, oh, it came out, oh no biggie. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not having to consciously be like, okay, when does this come out? Even though I'm at a point where none of them affect me, but I still want to be conscious of when they come out. I want to get to the point where it's like, oh, it came out. Oh shoot, that's crazy. Okay, right, and
Oh
just
shoot,
kind of
that's
get to.
crazy. Okay.
But instead of it being like, oh shit, I gotta
Shit,
move this
that's
here. I
crazy.
gotta, yeah,
Yeah. You
I
could say
gotta
the
move
same
this
thing, just
here,
the
and
tone.
then, exactly. Like I've already gotten to the point where it's like, and this is like a small thing, but it's a small victory that I like to celebrate myself. Is like being in Little Caesars or in Big Lots and having to go to the gas station. And I remember sometimes going to the gas station, especially I know Food for Less. It's not out here, but it's
Yeah.
called Kroger out here. Um,
Kroger's.
Kroger.
Oh wow. You go to the
Yeah,
Kroger. Yeah.
yeah, Kroger.
You got
Yeah,
y'all
yeah.
go to the parent company. Shit. All
Yeah, the
right.
parent company. Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
But when you go to the gas station, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but if you go to a gas station and you don't have a lot on your debit card and you put it into the machine, it says you can only put the amount you have in your bank account, and it tells you like you have
Exactly.
$25. This is literally all you can put in gas, and it's a real feeling. It's like it's a fucked up feeling, but I feel like
Yeah.
it's something that it builds character in you, and you're just like, fuck, you put that $5 in and you just cross your fingers and hope it's gonna last you until the fucking end of the week.
Cross your
And
fingers.
it's real. It's
Yeah.
real though. Like I really lived it. I lived it. And this is in a Honda too. This is a good gas efficient car. So it is what it is. But now it's like now I go to a gas station and it's just like boom, pump it in and literally just click the thing. Don't even go on my phone. Click. Okay, cool. It's empty. It's full. Drive off. And that, even though it may sound so little to certain people, I'm proud of that. Like I like
Yeah.
that feeling. Like that feeling of just being like, I don't look at shit. Gas is how much? How much is over there? It's like fuck
Even
it. This
having a
is
conversation about rising gas prices as if it's really something that it's because would you say that what would you say about that mentality? Would you and before you
I
say that, I
understand it.
think I think the mentality you're talking about, the one that doesn't value this dollar amount at the end of the day, this instant gratification of I have so many things and things and things to post, this idea of having time at your will, just and
I,
and
I'm
and
convenience.
and convenience. I think that is
I'm
truly
convenience.
the definition of rich. Like when you get to that point, I mean, and it's not a finish line, but after that, I think that's when you can sort of you can move on to charities and you can move on to you can well, of course you can because you can plot those things out. You can just say, okay, well, here's how much we've got coming in, and here's how much we could expend on whatever that adventure project, etc. is. Okay, it's a thing. I know I'm going to be working. I know that this is going to be coming in. Cool, it's fine. It's like I do think that's the
Or not even that I've been working, but maybe the things that I've invested into have given me such a return that I could pay for it just purely off of my investments, things that I've acquired. Like not necessarily always having the mindset of I have
hmm
to work to
hmm
get the money to pay for this. Maybe something I've already bought has already started generating me money to where I just have it where I can allocate it to this expense, right? So that's where I'm trying to go with it now, where it's like you don't necessarily have to trade your time and your effort and your
hmm
work for the to get the money to spend it, right? I'd rather it be like more of a funnel of I obviously I spend my time, I work hard, I'm very diligent on what I do, I make a certain amount, and I save majority, obviously invest a lot, and then obviously with the frugality, use a little bit of it for enjoyment, but majority of it's going towards investments and things like that, that eventually I can see a return on to where I have multiple streams, right? And then essentially I can keep reinvesting. So these streams essentially can essentially pay for my lifestyle, and then all the money that I'm acquiring from my work, my physical time, is essentially disposable income that I could
Hmm.
essentially do whatever I want with, right? I could essentially reinvest these things. I could save more, right? And just really understanding that aspect versus so that kind of ties back into what I was saying when you said, and I forgot I even said this to you, but you brought it back up to me, which is like the mindset of a lot of my peer group is like, oh, I make $2 an hour. I feel like that's like almost like a worker's mentality for lifetime. Like, oh, like I make, oh, I got $2 extra now. I'm doing great, right? And it's like, I'm doing amazing, $20 an hour, and then really just kind of understanding if you, for one, it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you spend. Once I understood that, literally you could be making $1 million a year, but if you spend 1,000,001, you're broke,
Hmm.
right?
That's
So
right.
really understanding that aspect. If you make more money and you also up your expenses because to fit your
You're
lifestyle,
yes
you're still broke.
broke.
You're still broke. So really understanding it's like you still gotta live moderately, right? So it's like, okay, cool. If you're making X amount of dollars, you gotta live like you're making this much, right? And you don't up the lifestyle. You keep it below your means.
Yeah.
And you save that rest, you stack the rest. And when I say save, I don't necessarily mean put it away, but start investing in different avenues you can go about, right? Now because now that I've gotten older, yes, you do want an emergency fund, you do want a rainy day, all that good stuff. 6 months of expenses is ideal. Like I said, I'm super into finances and stuff like that, but you definitely want to start investing into things because obviously savings accounts and stuff like that, monetarily wise, for return purposes, don't make the most sense once you start to get older, because obviously just like the interest you acquire on them, inflation is far exceeding those interest rates, so
So
you're really not
basically,
making.
you're saying that if inflation is rising higher, then the money you
You're
save in
losing
your
money.
account
You're
probably
losing money.
won't. So let's say it's
You're
half
losing money.
half a year's you're losing money. So it's half
You're
a year's
losing money.
expenses this year, but in 10 years when you need it, that rainy day fund, that'll only be a quarter of the year's expenses, and well,
Yeah,
you're
you're
losing
you're
money.
losing money on it, but there should always be an aspect of it that's just liquid.
Just
You're holding
liquid cash,
just
yeah.
for rainy day, something happens, whatever. Yes, that's fine. You can lose money on that, but majority of your stuff should be in assets that will eventually build a return. Obviously, initially there's a cost to entry to anything. When you buy stock, you got to buy it first before it can make you any money. If you buy property, you have to buy it first before you can start getting rents on it. Anything, there's this classic saying it costs money to make money.
Well,
So, yeah.
the what was it? I was gonna ask another question off of that. Well, no, yeah, that's the mentality that you've got today. Yeah, well, okay, okay. So we've talked about kind of a little bit of history. We've talked about finances and things. Um, I kind of want to start buttoning things up, so I'll just kind of ask some closer questions here. Okay, so you're currently a marketer. You're currently, saving. You're currently essentially on the path towards the lifestyle that you want, that you've described, wherein time is really now in your control. I think that's the main thing that I'm taking. It's that yeah, time is in your control, and this life, it is about work. That is what it's about, but it's not it doesn't have to be about working for for or in the sense of it doesn't have to be about our time being traded for our pleasure. It doesn't have to be if we sacrifice enough in the present day. And okay, well, I guess where do you see this mindset even 5 years from now? Do you and it's actually key and for me to ask you this question because I'll just tell you like Jason, you don't it didn't have to be that you were who you are at 20. What are you, 28 now?
27.
Wait. You better just turn 27? Because if
Yeah,
I'm
I'm 27.
22, oh yeah, well yeah, I turn 23, then you'll be 28. Okay, so yeah, because we're 5 years apart. So I've thought, well, you don't have to be the circumstances that you went through to become you are your circumstances, but there are many people even that even from where we come from, this San Bernardino, Rialto area, many people your age where it's like, yeah, you ask them what they're going to be doing in 5 years, and unfortunately it's a fog. It's they don't it is just it's a shot in the dark. Like they've got no freaking clue. And I don't want to bash anybody. I'm just simply saying that is a problem, and that's because your life is not your life today. It's your life tomorrow, and it's your life the day after that, and that is what it is. That's of course what it is. That's what you experience. That's what we all experience. That's how we go through this life. And so, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Do you see yourself pretty much within more of the lifestyle that you described, or do you think that's going to be a longer endeavor, maybe
Yeah,
even just a lifetime endeavor?
yeah. So actually, I've been working on this 5 years in the future because one of my mentors, he says, if you really, in order to truly dream, you should make it more vivid, right? So don't just say I want to be rich, I want to make money, I want to have a car. Be vivid about it. So I'm trying to be more vivid about it now. So I think in 5 years, I think I'm gonna have a Tesla Model S, right?
Oh
I
shit!
already know what
Yeah,
color I'm
yeah.
painting. I'm gonna paint it like one of my favorite colors, dark forest green. Um,
Fly,
so yeah,
super fly
fly.
on Teslas,
Yep.
super fly.
It's
But okay.
nobody has that color either, so
Mm-mm.
it's not stock color. So
Mm-mm.
if you see it out there and it's out here, somebody stole it from me. Uh, yeah,
Okay.
so forest green for sure. I want to have at least by 5 years. I want to at least have about four doors, four rental properties that I can obviously start acquiring wealth into. I'm studying into sir, obviously I want to be able to be in a position where I can, start investing into certain things. Like, I'm starting to watch interviews with like Magic Johnson and Shaq and like people who are very intelligent investors. And like I'm starting to listen to certain key things that they're saying. Like Shaq was doing an interview a month or so ago where he was
Mm.
talking about what the process of uh, joint partnerships, joint ventures, and the process of it of essentially him being himself and essentially being removed from this kind of business, but just kind of putting money into it and having people who are already good at it be the face of it, do it, but he still gets benefit. So I was like starting to see like, okay, that's a potential where eventually I can aspire to be in that to where maybe I don't really want to be the forefront of this specific industry, but I have a certain amount of revenue that or a certain amount of
Capital.
disposable capital. There we go. Thank you. Capital that I can put towards something, and I can start investing in certain things besides from stock, besides from this,
Real
and then
estate.
really besides from
Land
real
and
estate.
which and landlording, which is a job.
Yeah, well, landlord, I would delegate that. I wouldn't be the person. I would have a
A
property.
manager.
Yeah, because time. My time is the most valuable. So once my goal is to build it to a certain amount where I'm generating large amounts of revenue, and then I would just write that off as an expense. I would just pay them a salary, have them oversee it, right? Because you got to think about it. Any salary or any job or hourly something like that, they're paying you, but that's obviously off of the money they're making. So obviously, in order for them to pay you a certain amount, they're making a certain amount first, right? So people get lost in the hourly pay, but you really got to think about it. Like if they can afford to pay you that, how much are they making, right? So really, just kind of breaking it down to that aspect, I'm willing to pay somebody once I have a certain amount, obviously, as far as revenue is concerned. I'm willing to cut into that profit to pay somebody for the convenience of them looking it over, and I can focus on my personal stuff. And then I just get the remainder of the revenue and have them deal with all the day to day. This is why, if you look at all your local businesses, there's a corporate person that kind of oversees all the different markets, and then there's the day-to-day manager that makes sure that the store is clean and everything's stocked and everything like that. There's a reason why the main guy in Walmart, the main top guy in Walmart, doesn't make sure that the chips are stocked in the one in Rialto. No,
Mm.
there's fucking people in the store that are in charge of that. Right? He gives them that responsibility.
Do,
He
He gives them that responsibility. You're an employer. It's like, yeah, like you gave that person a job. They have something to do now. Like it's the way you describe it is it's so on the beneficial side for you and your time, but no. It's like that person now has something to do. They have something to do, something that they
yeah
could either do very well or something that they could either do poorly. And it is a serious job. It is something that could be fumbled. And going back to you saving your time, but you gave that person a responsibility, man. And it's like that's well, then that goes then to the American dream. I mean, that's just people giving other people a chance to make something out of themselves, and they can do that. And theoretically, if we keep that in our community, then hey, maybe like more people will start to just not look so impoverished or beaten up by the system. Maybe they'll have a community that they can fall back on, and not just fall back on, but that they can contribute to, that they can work for, that they can. Yeah, that is the American dream. I think. I mean, shit, man. But yeah. Hmm. Hmm. So the four properties, Tesla.
yeah
Anything else in this
Tesla.
5 years that you can vividly
I'm
see?
really doing a lot of research into this vending machine business. I'm starting to get very intrigued by it because I'm starting to watch this. I think it's called Millionaire Mindset podcast, and it's very interesting because they were talking to this guy who has a or essentially has a multi-million dollar business, and he's how he a multi-million dollar business in vending machines, so
Okay.
placements and things like that. So, and it's very interesting how he kind of did it, and it has a kind of like a I won't say a messed up, but kind of like a disheartening part of it, but it's kind of like I understand it. So what he did is he says he calls a lot of local like motels and hotels in lower income areas, and he essentially tells them, "Hey, I'll put my vending machine in here. I give you about 10%." Obviously, these owners of these motels are like, "Well, fuck yeah." He goes out there and he just puts all these snacks, all these non-nutritional things in these areas, and obviously we're the biggest consumers of junk food. So he does
Mm.
very, very well by simply doing that and getting a lot of placement in hotels, motels, the little, apartment complexes and things like that. Simply just by calling these places up because nobody ever thinks to go to these places, right?
Maybe because they're scared.
So scared, maybe just or ignorance to it, whatever, right? So, or they just don't think about it. They just want to be in the nicer places, et cetera, et cetera. But the more established places is the more cost of entry, more barrier of entry usually takes. Usually costs more to place your things here. And some places don't want vending machines, especially in higher end areas, right?
Right.
So I'm starting to do my research into that, and obviously the cost of entry into that industry is not as high. Um, so it's kind of like maybe while I'm transitioning, maybe in between properties, I can essentially start building that up. Because the cost of entry is a lot less. You need a lot less capital. It's a lot easier to move them. I don't need
Then I.
somebody overseeing them initially, right?
You said you
So
don't need anybody overseeing it initially. Well, yeah.
initially, while
Well,
it's
yeah.
small, if
Well,
it's
it's small. Yeah.
scaled, then obviously, yeah. If
Yeah.
it's scaled to the point where it's like becoming a huge revenue source and there's multiple machines in different areas, then yes, at that point I would need somebody to oversee it. But until then, essentially, since it is very self-sufficient, I could essentially just kind of oversee it until it becomes a large revenue source for me. But I'm starting to get into it where I'm actually kind of getting interested in it. I'm following like certain Facebook groups and starting to like hear about like the ups and downs of the business, just the highs and lows. Just like with anything, right? I want a realistic view on it before I get into it
You're
versus
getting
just
back
kind of,
into the back seat.
yeah,
You're viewing
exactly.
the adults going out doing it and trying it first.
Exactly, right? And seeing people win and lose at it and just kind of understanding what it takes, right? And seeing if this is an industry I really want to get into, right? Just kind of understanding what it takes to really be successful at it. Franchising, I'm thinking about doing franchising eventually. If I could essentially do something where I can like do kind of like almost like a I know Shaq does with like Krispy Kreme or Papa John's or even like Rick Ross with Wingstop. If I could do something like that, and I already have a franchise, if I was gonna do it, there's only one franchise I would want to get into, and it's
Wingstop?
purely, huh?
What is it?
It's purely because of just because I understand the business model now, now that I'm older, and it's purely just to say I did it, and it's Little Caesars. I want to own some franchises and Little Caesars. Well, obviously this is one I've acquired a lot of
Oh,
at this
yeah,
point,
yeah.
but I understand it because it makes so much sense. They can put them anywhere. They take such a small bit of real estate. There's no dining room or nothing like that.
Nope.
You hire young kids. It's the amount of it's like
Yep.
I worked there, like, and it's like you could put it anywhere. You can put it in the hood. You can put it in a nice place. You can put it in middle class. It just goes anywhere, and it's like they could take over. Somebody who gets foreclosed on or whatever business. It just takes a little small little thing. Boom, you're in there. So I'm like, I could see myself owning about 5, 10 of those. And then I just think that'd be a super cool story because then it's like that would add to almost like the legacy in a sense. Because then it's like, hey, you started off as a worker in this, now you own blah 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 blah. I think that would, I said the greatest human. One thing, shout out Nip Hustle, RP. One thing
Rest in peace.
he
God rest the
said,
dead.
he said is the greatest human act is to inspire, right?
Mm,
So I think that would be dope. And it's like I think just me doing these things and being
there's something to
passionate
that.
about them, you know, just being passionate about those things. I think unintentionally, like I like unintentionally I would inspire people, right? Not even like consciously, but it'd be like, yo, like this guy he grew up in the city we grew up in. He didn't come up with a silver spoon. He didn't come up with money. And he still figured it out. He focused and he became this, right? And I think that's super big, right? I feel like that would be huge. Like, just being able to say I did those things and to know like I just went to the same public schools as everybody else. I didn't get no private school. I wasn't this super rich kid, came from regular, regular middle lower income family, just like anybody else and just work your way up. And, I feel like that would be inspirational.
Yeah. You'd be writing a lot of, yeah, like you said, unintentionally inspiring, and you'd be writing a lot of new, fresh stories in the sense of, I mean, without your presence there, so many people would not have that inspiration, not have that spark to go do whatever the thing is that they want to go do, whatever. Even now, you're busy, and I'm holding you from I'm sure business things and whatnot. But
Right.
it's. I think you are inspiring, and I think you are doing exactly what it is that you want to be doing. And I think at the end of the day, like you said, I think that's the most beautiful part about it. Unintentionally, people will pick up on this. I'm picking up on this already right now. I always have been my whole life. I mean, like I said, we started from minute one. You know, this guy was literally with us. But yeah, that was well said. That was beautiful. That was yeah. I think may God bless your hustle. That's all I could say. May God bless your hustle. That's
But
yeah, and
it's
hmm?
it's exciting. Like, I just feel like just passion behind it, right? And just understanding it's like you don't necessarily have to have the passion in what you do in your career per se. I feel like that's a overstatement. That's an
Hmm.
overstatement where it's like, oh,
Hmm.
your specific position is the one you have to be passionate about or make the most revenue off of. No, you just need to be put in a position where you can make large amounts of revenue, and then you can delegate it to where you can start investing into your passions, right? So that's one thing I feel like is understated. Nobody really talks about that aspect. So that's one thing I like to highlight is like literally like, focusing and, being able to get that freedom. Like that's what excites me. Like being able to be like, you know what? I haven't seen the family in a long time. I'm about to just hop on a plane and just show up at your crib. Right? Just be like, what's up? Let's kick it for the weekend. I'm just out here this week.
Yeah, man.
Like just do that. Like just
Yeah.
do that. But I can, eventually once I get into a position where I have certain amounts of revenue to where even though I'm taking days off, money is still being made. My dollars are essentially working for me at that point. And just really understanding like, okay, even though I spent the day kicking it with you and we went around fucking, Rialto or San Bernardino and just chilled out,
You could
I
check the
still made
report. Check the
I
report.
still made I still made money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key for me is like that's what I'm excited about, like having that, being in that position, like obviously enjoy the moment. Never live so much. They say never live too much in the future, never look too much in the past, and obviously you want to have that balance, right? And just always, so I want to enjoy the present, acknowledge and learn from the past, and obviously aspire for the future.
You say you say learn from the past, appreciate the
Yeah, learn
present,
from,
or
appreciate
aspire
and aspire
for the
for the
future.
future.
Listen, I think that's a good button on a fantastic conversation. Only the first one to be out and recorded. And yeah, Jason, I'm gonna have to let you go at this point. Because yeah, man, I'm talked out honestly, and even it's my mom's birthday actually, and
Oh,
yeah, it's her birthday. We about to go. I will tell him. We're about to go out for dinner. But thank you for doing this again.
oh,
Yes, sir, man.
problem.
Yeah, it's her birthday. But
Big.
yeah, man. If anything, I'll call
Rialto,
you after. Huh?
Rialto, Rialto business legend.
Rialto business legend. That's
Yeah,
100%, man.
legend.
Get your food at
What's
We
this?
on African
What's that
Market.
street? What's that street?
Baseline.
Baseline. That's crazy. If you from the city, you know. That's
Baseline
crazy.
Road, man. We've been there for 21 years.
Baseline.
21 years,
Baseline.
man. So,
That's crazy.
yeah.
Literally right in the city. Legend.
Yeah. Honestly.
Legend.
Honestly, yeah. Honestly. Like, so many
If
people
you
have come
from
up
the
to me
city, you
just,
know that street. You
oh,
know that street. If you from the city, you know that street.
oh, Baseline? Oh, yeah. But so many people have come up to me just like, oh, yeah, that's your mom? Da, da, da. So, yeah, no, definitely, Rialto legend. But nah, yeah, we're going to go celebrate. Jason, thank you for coming back onto the show. It was an enlightening
Oh,
conversation that has so many keys packed into it. My goal is to at least carve out one video, one clip video at least, where I'm just picking up one of the few things that you dropped here. But yeah, thank you for coming on again, and I hope to have you on soon. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I kind of want us to just have this be like a kind of semi-occasional thing. We just kind of just
yeah, yeah.
maybe if something happens or if not, just just to kind of check back up and whatever, and just I like broadcasting your opinions because I always tell you this, but your mentality is so valuable to me. Like I feel like I'm such a I just look at things from not probably the best perspective in terms of like I could be kind of down, I can be kind of dark and a little cynical, but you always help me realistically look through that, and it's not just padded words and rows and cherries. No, it's no, you could there's a path to this, and there's a way through. There's logical things that you could be doing. So yeah, man, you're the one of the most logical people I know, and I appreciate you just sharing your perspective. So is there anything else you'd like to say before we get out of here?
No, man. I appreciate the conversations, and I appreciate the kind words, and I'm just, one thing about it is, just trying to live the best way I can, right? Nobody's perfect. I'm not trying to live this perfect perception, right? Everybody has mistakes, but I appreciate that. You say that. Growing up, you looked up to me, and I appreciate
Fact.
and I hope to obviously keep inspiring.
Damn. Well, hey, thank you for being you. With that, we're out of here. It's been the Rambling Rogue Show. I'm your host, Rambling Rogue, and this is my co well, it's not co this is my special guest, Jason
Captain,
Nicol. Big bro, thank you. All right, we're out of here.
appreciate it.
Peace.
All right.